Do not be afraid of Christ. He takes nothing from us, but gives us everything. Brothers and sisters, may the Lord give you his peace. Father Malachy here with you. Great to be again on the way, following the footsteps of the Lord. This thought came to me, right, which is it reasonable to actually believe? To take a leap of faith, to step into relationship with God, to walk the path that we're talking about here in this series. I had the joy just a few weeks ago of being down in Central Park and was walking along and ran into a few guys who are some skater kids and shook hands with them, and we just started a conversation. And at a certain point in the conversation, they were like, "Hey man, you want to hit?" And I totally, honestly, I appreciated it. It was like a gesture of solidarity, right? They're like, "Hey, you want to hit some of this, And I said, "No, I'm good." And it led to a beautiful conversation where I was able to bear witness about in my own life. I was able to discover that, even though I had been in that lifestyle before, sitting in their very shoes, that I had found something that actually satisfied a deeper place in my heart. I got tired of paying money to try and feel good and realized that there was someone making an offer that could bring this peace that my heart longed for and this joy and fulfillment, fullness of life that I wanted without all of the baggage that lifestyle brought. As I was talking about this, they were sort of intrigued and I began to share a little bit about Jesus and my experience of him. And I said, "Hey guys, do you want to say a prayer before I go?" And they were open to that. It was beautiful. And at the end of the prayer, I'm leaving and I said, "Hey guys," I was like, "Listen," I was like, "I know that you've not prayed much in your life or maybe ever." I was like, "But just ask God, hey, if you're real, what do you want from my life?" And one of the guys looked at me and he was like, "Yeah, maybe not today, man. I don't know if I'm ready for that." When he said that, I was just struck. I was like, wow. It was like something inside immediately when there was this invitation to potentially take the risk of belief. It was like, not today. I don't think I'm ready for that. And this quote from Pope Benedict came to my mind and I looked it up and it's just beautiful. That talks about this very fear that I saw in his face. And I think it's a fear that exists in many of our hearts. And this is what he says. He says, "Are we not perhaps all afraid in some way? If we let Christ enter fully into our lives, if we open ourselves totally to him, are we not afraid that he might take something away from us? No, if we let Christ into our lives, we lose nothing, absolutely nothing of what makes life free, beautiful and great. No, only in friendship are the doors of life opened wide for us. Only in this friendship is the great potential of human existence truly revealed. Only in this friendship do we experience beauty and liberation. Do not be afraid of Christ. He takes nothing and gives us everything. Do not be afraid of Christ. He takes nothing of what is true and beautiful and good. Nothing of that. What does Jesus take from us? He takes our sin. He takes our brokenness. He takes our sickness. He takes our pain. All of these things that we have in our humanity, he takes those, but he does not take freedom. He does not take joy. He does not take peace. He does not take beauty, goodness, and truth. No, he gives those. And the reality is that is everything. And yet we stand on this threshold and there is this struggle. And I think the reason there is a struggle, right, this fear, is because we sort of intuitively know what it is that this step of faith, this leap of faith entails. So JP2 would say that faith is not a matter of thinking of God, but of living in relationship with him. And so what is it that would make it reasonable for us to take this leap of faith? And I'd say it's this very friendship and trust that comes from both knowing him, but also knowing others who have been walking with him and bear witness to us. I was thinking about as a little kid, I grew up in this wonderful neighborhood, part of an intentional Christian community, the Alleluia community. And there was probably 30 or 40 boys that were within 3 or 4 years of age that I was growing up with. And there was this wooded area behind some of the houses. And we had created of course you got forts and different places where you go and play. But we had created this club, right? This it's like the wood club. And so it's if you want to be in the club of the boys that play over there in the woods, it's you got to go through this sort of obstacle course. And so what you had to do as the final step was you had to jump off of this tree out into these vines. And it was, I don't know, like 15, 20-foot jump. And you're sitting up there as a kid like, oh man, like, are these vines gonna hold me? Not sure if I wanna do this. And so it's like you're sitting there looking, but then you remember something. You remember that, hey, I saw my older brother jump from that same place. Or I saw one of my friends jump from that place, and those vines held them. And those vines were strong enough. And actually now, like, that leap of faith, right, becomes a leap of trust because of the witness of others. And when I think about believing, this has been my experience, right? It's always been through the experience of others who bear witness that this reasonability of faith is confirmed. It's not just sort of I'm standing up here, I'm like, well, we'll see if it works or not. We'll see if this God thing works or not. There are people making a proposal to you. This is the way. This is what our hearts are looking for. This is the treasure that your entire existence is worth, like just giving everything away in order to be able to possess this relationship with God and Jesus. And this proposal is being made to us. And as we hear it, please God, there's witnesses that are around that are able to testify to the truth of that. One thing that breaks my heart is that there's many people I've met who haven't had that witness, and maybe have had the opposite. And for that, I just want to say sincerely, like, I am sorry. Like, I'm sorry and apologize for a church that's broken and doesn't actually always bear witness to the truth of what she professes, that Jesus is actually the one who is going to give you all that your heart is looking for and not take something away, that he does not come to condemn, but to save. I apologize for that, but we are intended, and I can just look at my own life and see again and again these witnesses, which is why when I'm standing there with these guys, Jamal and his friends, or they're sitting here smoking weed, and I'm looking at them and seeing myself in them and being like, man, dude, if you only knew. Like, if you only knew how good it was, if you only knew the reality that awaits you in this relationship with God, if you only knew that your life was made for so much more. And this is the proposal. What is that more? That more is this leap of faith. It is this risk of belief. But it becomes a reasonable risk because the witness of others who have gone before and testify. And here we are 2,000 years later with the testimony, and the ones that we look to are the saints. These are men and women who actually lived what Jesus believed and taught. And it's their lives that testify to us whether or not the gospel is true. It's not the folks who are doing the opposite of the gospel and saying they're Christian that are the witnesses that we look to say, was that true or not? It's sort of like, you think about it, it's like, okay, well, is this a healthy, diet or not? Well, you don't look at the person who says, I'm doing the diet on their social media post, but then goes out and eats fast food all the time. And you're like, look at him, he died of a heart attack. Yeah, I was like, well, he wasn't actually living what he said he was living. And that scandal, it's horrible, and it drives people away from the church, and I hate it. I hate it with you, and I hate it for you. But there are those who are these witnesses who have given themselves over to love. And this is what the leap is. It's surrendering and leaping out, giving my life, my heart, opening myself up to God. And he wants to invite you today. I want to invite you today to take that leap of faith. And if you've already jumped into the arms of God, like, ask Jesus, hey, where am I holding on to something? Where have I not actually surrendered? Where am I still giving into the fear that wants to tell me that if I let you in fully into my life, guess what? If I say yes to you, you're going to take something from me. No, no, no. Do not be afraid of Christ. He takes nothing from us, but gives us everything. If you want everything, if you want the fullness of life that you're made for, like, he's the one. Jesus is the one that awaits you. Jesus is the one that calls you. And so I invite you, if you're open to it, like, let's pray for that right now. Jesus, I don't know who's on the other side of this camera, but you do. And I just ask that in whatever way they need to experience the truth of your presence and your love, that you would reveal that love to them, and that you would give them the grace, Lord, of experiencing your presence right now. That your Holy Spirit pour through them. And if you want to give him permission, you can just say, Jesus, I give you permission to love me. Jesus, I give you permission to love me. He is the one that we're following. His are the footsteps that are leading us home to the Father's house. and he will take nothing from you, but give you everything. God bless.